conversation happening around AI, but we want to particularly focus on what we mean when we say that AI is, AI is here now to drive equitable distribution of technology and bring about digital transformation in society. What do we mean by it? Who is making AI? What is it being made for? What are those projects, programs, initiatives that are being undertaken by governments, civil sector, the private sector, and how are we approaching with AI? Right. So that's, I think, at the heart of this conversation. And when we look at AI, what is it essentially? It's artificial intelligence is built on algorithms. Algorithms are built on data. Data is not 1010. It's not a binary code. Data, it's people's data. So it's human intelligence. It's a lot of social intelligence that's at the heart of AI. And we tend to forget that, I guess, from time to time. When we're talking about AI in abstract terms, not in the language of algorithms and data. So here, I think we are bringing back that perspective, bringing back human and social intelligence at the heart of the conversation of technology. And today we have here a few of the change makers in the field, in the space of AI, right? People who are working with AI to leverage AI for social good. So what do we understand by social good when we talk about its intersection with technology? These are some of the questions I think we are going to have here in the panel. And we at Digital Empowerment Foundation, we felt the need to have this conversation, and in line with this conversation with Jay Shannon sir, couldn't make it of course, and Rama ma'am, who is the director of the Emerging Technologies, we came together and we conceptualized this awards, which is the Just AI Awards, which was held this year as part of the Global AI Summit, where we decided to evaluate, like we took in nominations from all across the country, from people who are working specifically focusing on AI for social good across sectors, and then there was a very thorough jury process which was undertaken, and that led to the recognition of winners of the Just AI Awards and best AI practices, and some of them are sitting here today. I guess while this technical work is going on, if all of you want to start sharing something coming from your space, what do you think of AI? What do you mean? What do we understand as AI for social good? That will, I guess, help the conversation, and then I guess the change makers can also start talking from their perspective what they have done work on in the field. So anyone from the audience who wants to say or share about what you mean by AI for social good? What do we mean when we say artificial intelligence or any technology should be leveraged for social good? What do we mean by that? Anyone from it may not be a very complicated answer. Like any simple understanding of what you think. How should AI serve in society?
So we are already under the influence of AI, and it's been fun in our common life, where we can also, up to an extent, control what data are we sharing and what data do we have access to. Can we have those kind of rights also with us to say this is what we want to share and this is what we want to share with the community. This should be anonymized. This shouldn't be anonymized.
Right. So very important point. So one is, how do we communicate? How can we decide how our data can be used? Yes. So definitely those are two very important points. Then anything more from the audience?
Happening both for the which is going to be of help to the caregivers as well as the receivers. Like say in the realm of insurance, health insurance, So there's a lot of scope.
Okay. So you say that if basically because from the government, from different sectors, AI can actually enable that widespread adoption of healthcare policies or be it any other policy, right? Right? Yeah. So that's definitely one.
The benefits, as far as healthcare is concerned, we are not unlike US. We are not
They're not streamlined.
universally the coverage, universal coverage is not there, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's the point. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, right, where they could potentially reduce the claims that their customers would process. That's where they start taking initiatives or programs that would anticipate or that would analyze their customers' health habits, or even if they are going through some ailments, or if they potentially.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you as well.
Am I audible in the hall?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You're audible.
Okay, great, perfect. Am I audible in the hall?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Well,
Yeah. Hi Naveen. Hi Andrea. Naveen is at Five Farm, and Andrea is the founder of Sure AI. So thank you. And we were just filling in while the technical glitch was being corrected. So we just threw a question to the open floor, asking what people understand the AI for social good, and then we just started having the conversation. But now I guess I will just go a little more formal way, right? So I just briefly introduced Naveen and Andrea that we at DEF conceived this idea of Just AI Awards, and then Andrea is already yawning. We conceptualized Just AI Awards, and these are some of the India's changemakers today sitting here. They're going to talk about their work. So here, to start with, Rama ma'am and Jayasa couldn't make it because of a meeting with the ministry. So, but Rama ma'am has shared a video which we will play first, where she's going to talk about how AI technologies and solutions in Telangana by the Telangana government are aimed at supporting marginalized communities and underserved communities. So I will request Vikas to play it first, and then we'll head to Index.
Well, I thank Mission Environment Foundation for inviting me to this very special event, which is very close. I'm Raman. Good morning, everyone. I'm Raman Devi, Director, Emerging Technologies from Government of Telangana. I thank Mission Environment Foundation for inviting me to this very special event, which is very close to our hearts, which is big technology accessible to everyone and bridge the digital divide. Well, I wanted to be there in person but could not make it, so I thought I would share this with you. Well, Telangana has been using technologies such as AI, blockchain, cloud, robotics, all the emerging technologies to enhance citizens' delivery, to improve governance, and to create social impact. Well, a couple of solutions that are really going to impact different areas, such as education. I will share a few of them. Well, in the education sector, we identified one of the institutes, preparing Basara, where students, very intelligent students from humble backgrounds, join these institutions. So we deployed an AI tool to help them prepare for the interviews, to help identify gaps in their knowledge and prepare accordingly for various placement examinations or interviews. That really helped the students, and what we got from the information from the university is impact. There's considerable increase in the placements of students. And that's one. Second very important area that we're working is in agriculture. It's a unique project that we have partnered with World Economic Forum called Sagu Babu. But initially we deployed different technologies, ranging from AI, blockchain, and drones, to help farmers to grow their incomes. This yielded fantastic results, and 48% of the women, all of us know that, right? 48% of the women are in the agriculture sector, and we actually took special care to train women in using these technologies. So this is an area we are really passionate about, how to make AI, accessible to everyone. So in fact, we also partnered with an organization called Savin that organize or that offers various training programs in AI to make women, learn AI and be aware of the use of AI and so on. So we have a target of about training about 1 lakh women under that program. So as a state, we are committed to bridging the digital divide and specifically make AI, inclusive, so that everybody, the marginal communities, are benefited by it. Again, once again, I thank the Digital Empowerment Foundation for organizing this event. That's very close to our hearts. And another area that we are looking into is assistive technologies. In fact, we had a few discussions with the Prasada Institute to deploy assistive technologies in public spaces such as parks to help, people with vision issues navigate the public spaces. So, if any startups can offer good solutions for us, we'll be happy to implement them. So, with these few words, I wish you all the best for the Digital Empowerment Foundation with the program today. Thank you.
Many thanks to Rama ma'am. Actually, she recorded this video on way to the meeting with the ministry, and this was on a short notice. But yeah, she gave an overview of how government is approaching and intervening, right, to make AI more accessible in different sectors. So here, I think at this point, I would request Chanukya, who has worked extensively, again, like founder of AI Planet. His work on AI planning for education has been recognized by government of Telangana and Digital Empowerment Foundation, but they do much more work than that too. So I'll request you to introduce your work and also share what you understand by AI for social good and how you are coming in this field and what do you see should be the way forward.
Hi everyone. I'm Chanukya. So as Arpita was mentioning, at AI Planet, our larger purpose is to make AI accessible to everyone. And while that is there, we predominantly, when it comes to the education sector, we want to make equitable education accessible to everyone. And that's where we work with educational institutions to enable two of the end users, right? One is the learners, that is the students, where we understand one size education doesn't fit everyone. That's where we empower them with tools that are required to adapt their entire learning process, assessment process, and personalize and simplify their learning journey, right? So that is one area that we focus on. And the other thing is where we enable teachers with AI tools to automate several redundant processes, giving them, freeing up their time so that they could focus more on shaping the future generations, right? And then there are certain things that AI cannot do. There are certain things AI can automate. For example, it could automate their work in terms of creating lesson plans or even evaluating their assessments, or even creating the assessments and so on and so forth, right? So those are some of the areas that we focus on, and so that's how we are trying to leverage artificial intelligence and autonomous agents to enable educators and students overall. And when it comes to AI for social good, I think that's a topic that's very close to our hearts, and I fundamentally believe there are 3-4 foundational segments that are very core to everyone's life. That is education, healthcare, financial services, finance, and agriculture, right? So these are more like pillars, and that's a very subjective, personal perspective. And there is so much impact that you can drive by working on some of the grassroots level problems, right? Be it on healthcare, education, on agriculture. I think some of them were already mentioned by Ramalini ma'am as well as Arpita. So I think when I talk about AI for social good, it's more about how you can reasonably use AI to solve some of these pressing problems, right? And in the case of healthcare, you could potentially leverage it to diagnose a particular disease or even enable the healthcare providers or even doctors to make better decisions in the overall process, right? That's where it can increase the reasoning and also you can make it accessible. Right now, we don't face challenge on certain sectors, especially in the urban areas. We can get access to hospitals in a very very quick way, but when it comes to rural areas, it's still in scarcity, right? Those are some of the things. Again, AI cannot address them. You still need the infrastructure there, but it can reduce the workloads if you can bring in some automated process. Same with education. Right now, we have a lot of unemployed youth which lack employability skills. And if AI could be utilized to make them understand the concepts better or even make them help understand what they want to focus on, it can also help them realize their passion as well if they start interacting with it. There are some excellent bots for that. But I'll probably stop there and probably leave the floor to the rest of the speakers to talk about.
Thank you, Chanakya. Talking about accessibility, the agriculture sector, right? It's one of the crucial sectors, right? It provides a livelihood for around 42.3% of India's population. And in 2020, the agriculture sector contributed to 18.3% of India's GDP. So that's a significant percentage. And as of Jan 31st, 2024, around 1.77 crore farmers were registered on the e-Gram portal. Right? Here I will bring Naveen Singh. Naveen Singh, who is basically founder of Five Farm. They've been engaging with rural farming communities, and they've developed AI-driven support for them to make better decisions on their farms and improve agricultural practices. So, coming from your experience from the field, how do you think AI is supporting farmers, especially in rural India? Over to you, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Thank you for having me here, and thank you everyone for coming. My name is Naveen, and I'm founder of iFarm. I have been working in technology, so this is a very broad topic. I can go on for hours, but I'll take like 3 minutes to share my thoughts on AI and what I've been doing. I've been working in tech, I think, ever since I started experimenting with TV remotes that were at home, and I would open them and do things with them and try to make it work. And ever since I've been building things, but most notably, I think I started working seriously on technologies in IIT when I was studying there, and we built internal websites and other systems for college. And for me, AI is a very broad term. I'll first start with how many engineers are there in the audience. If you can raise your hand, I can see I'll prepare. Okay, almost like 50%. Okay, great. So yes, left side of the audience is engineers. Okay, great. So AI is a very broad term. But when we build any solution, we don't put a broad level of things into AI. But the development of AI started long back when we started out with table bases, which was used to solve chess positions. When you have 7 pieces on board, you can practically solve a chess board, and what it refers to is all the possible outcomes that can come out of that position, and you can essentially think it off as an Excel sheet which has all the possible variants of moves that can happen. So it's sort of the very primitive form of AI where you are exceeding human capabilities by using some sort of information storage in the background. And till date, what we are seeing AI is essentially consolidated information processed by computers and built into models, and then you see statistical models where the next where table basis form of it, where you have like statistic models like linear regression, logistic regression, where you feed large amount of data to do predictions on anything or everything. And then we move to more neural networks where we have CNN convoluted neural networks, which forms like some structures like our brain, where you have different layers of uh, functions which are doing very specific tasks and extracting features, and then you plug in those layers and you give input and you get output. That's a very primitive convoluted neural network. And what you see recently with ChatGPT and other stuff, it's a large language model with multiple parameters connected to each other with specifying weights. In a simple way, think all the internet information on internet is compressed into a zip file and put on for a program to access and reply, and it's essentially predicting next word of a prompt. So that's essentially my understanding of AI, and we've been using AI to build controllers and sensors for farming, for helping farmers not just make decisions but also take that task and execute that decision for them in real world, like giving water and fertilizer, which is the most fundamental aspect of growing food. If you give fertilizer and water to a plant, they grow and they produce commodities which are traded in trillions of dollars. The clothes you wear, the food you eat, the drinks you have, all comes from some sort of manufacturing process which is biological in nature using agriculture, and about 500 million people are engaged in this activity across Asia, where we focus. And another important term that was mentioned was equitable, which is something very different from AI. It's a more human-centric problem where the technologies are creating concentration of wealth and power with few individuals, which is going to become much worse if if the AI systems that are deployed are designed in the same way how we have our centralized system is all designed, where Amazon, Facebook, Google, Meta, all these companies control majority of information, and they essentially are changing how we operate as a human. From waking up to sleeping, you are being monitored, and your data is being used and farmed for buying more consumer products. So that is going to become worse if AI is not built and designed in a way. But it's not a problem of AI; it's a problem of how we store and centralize data with central. So decentralization of data, ownership of data to be held by communities, which is something I've been working on for the last 5-6 years. I would not use both blockchain or crypto for its misuse and its abuse by certain communities. We say it's a immutable database, which your data cannot be altered, your data cannot be tampered, it cannot be destroyed, and it's owned by the community which is generating. And the same philosophy we are bringing into our platform. And what we see that it's inevitable that we have computer system doing most of the things for us. In the digital world, it's easier, but we are seeing we are one of the first companies to build AI-enabled hardware for farmers. So we see where the future can lead if we don't do it right, and that's a responsibility for all of you who are building AI system and who are involved in decision making, policy making, and any other way it impacts the fabric of our society. And I'm still optimistic and hopeful about AI. It's going to elevate and lift people out of poverty. It is going to help people in ways we don't understand. Like right now, I'm able to see captions while the audio was not working, and I could see what people are talking about. So AI is becoming very useful for everyone, and putting it in right use for the right intention and for the right purpose is what is going to determine how it changes our world.
Thank you, Naveen. I think very important takeaway is technology is a tool, AI is a tool. Who is the master? Who is making it? Who is it being made for? I think this is how we started in the beginning, and I think Naveen has reinforced that question for all of us. I think Naveen has also, did a good departure. AI, of course, has increased efficiency, has improved decision making, has helped in, improvising the supply chain management, has enabled scalability and growth, etc. But it also throws at us a lot of harms, right? So there is a proliferation of misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, deepfakes, and scams, financial frauds, and these are now at the core of how technology is impacting communities, and communities especially in rural India, in peri-urban India. And like Sir also initially mentioned, that we already have an existing social divide, a digital divide, where 70% of India, which is rural India, do not have enough access to digital infrastructure. Forget access to digital literacy. And then there are so many institutional gaps right now which we need to fill, and then also communicate what AI means for us and how it's impacting us, and then benefit from AI. So it's a long chain, and so be it B2B model, business to business model, be it B2G model, which is business to governance model, be it B2C model, which is business to direct consumer model. C is consumer, but we always forget that C is also citizen. So that needs to be reinforced through our work and through our articulation in text. It's good to thank you for Naveen for identifying the engineers and technologists in the room, that it's really important and crucial that we all come together. It's not pitching one against the other, but more like people who are building technology, if they imbibe right from the start point this idea, this approach, then we can have very good technology which is for people. That is what is the intention in the first place. So here I think good time to bring in Rakesh and Anja. We'll start with Rakesh first. Their work is mainly about how to tackle misinformation, disinformation, and online scams. And in this line, they have built such bot AI, which has been recognized by the Just AI Awards. But there's more work to it, so I'll request Rakesh to speak more about it.
Thanks, Abhita. So my work in the last 1 to 2 decades has been at the more about making information access, rather improving information access to people. So whether it's right information and so on and so forth. So the fundamental philosophy at Factory, where we're trying to use technology and artificial intelligence to build these products is one, how can AI as a technology, while it has its own share of issues, can aid in improving this access. So when we say information, we talk about credible and authentic information. So that has been the core principle. So we also understand that AI today is more probabilistic than deterministic. So while it has its own use cases in many areas, relying on it to be a the know-it-all is going to be a challenge. So what we set out to do was building on our years of work. So I'll start with misinformation and then go to the other areas. So as you know, in the last decade or so, there has been a proliferation of fact-checking across the world, including in India, as a counter to the rise of misinformation across the world. So with the proliferation of smartphones, internet, and all, I'm sure most of us come across information that may not be accurate. So as a counter to this, there is a fact-checking movement across the world where many organizations run fact-checking units. Essentially, you take a piece of information that is floating around, which is viral, and then you decide whether it's true, accurate. If it's accurate, to what extent is it accurate? So you obviously can't have a binary for everything, but whether it's missing. So you can, for instance, you can have a picture that is floating around, which is an actual picture. So I can take a picture in this room and then float it around, saying, these are anti-national elements trying to do something, right? So the picture is true, but the context is false. So there are most of these organizations write something called as fact checks, and globally, whoever follows certain standards come under this umbrella called the IFCN. It says it's a body of fact checkers. So they follow certain code of principles. So all of them who are signatories to that code of principles also mark up their articles using a schema called the claim review schema. So what it does is it at least tells so those who are aware of technology, it tells search engines and others that there is this article which is a fact check of a particular piece of information. So currently, as we speak, there are close to 500,000 such pieces of fact checks around the world in that schema. And this database is maintained by Google and it's accessible through a public API. It's a search API. So there's no personal information, nothing of that sort. So if you're interested, that API is accessible to everyone. So what we did was, and the solution that we built was born out of our own experience of last many years. So during major events, be it elections, disasters, or any riot, violence, communal, or any other major event, we see a lot of misinformation. There's a huge spike in misinformation, and it many times also leads to harms. So, be it physical, financial, health related, etc. Even in the pandemic, for instance, and people may not realize, but a lot of evidence suggests that both significant. I wouldn't want to put a number to it, but a significant amount of misinformation that goes around during these events is just rehashed content. Since this is content that has gone viral already, it's going viral again. So it is not as if we come across new types of misinformation day in, day out. So in other words, a significant part of the misinformation has already been fact-checked, is already available as a corpus, which is credible, authentic database. So we wanted to make use of that database and then build the search chatbot that Arpita was talking about. Now, currently this chatbot is not available to the public. So how are we helping the cause? So what we did was we also we also understand the resistance to use new applications. We already have so many applications. So we built a browser extension. So our use case has been more B2B, so to speak, in our business model. So what we did was during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, so we were part of a couple of coalitions, larger coalitions, that included media organizations, fact-checking organizations. So one of it was called Project Shakti. So we extended access to this browser extension to about 100 journalists or fact-checkers working in over 50 different markets from around the country. So it is multilingual, multimodal. So what they did was they used this particular tool to identify whether something that they were coming across, because elections is, as you know, is a very important time, and a time where a lot of misinformation was going. It's a sudden spike. So they used it not just to answer their own queries around misinformation, inform their users, so through writing stories or whatever. So a lot of these organizations also run deepfakes. So they have a specific number of WhatsApp. So you as a user, if you want a particular piece of information to be verified, you can send it across. Many organizations run these deepfakes, and these deepfakes have a loyal set of users in various languages. So even those who are handling these deepfakes use the extension. So while we did not serve the users directly, there's a lot of indirect benefit, because these 100 people who are at the forefront of addressing misinformation in their own news organization, especially during elections, were using it. In addition, on top of it, currently what we're doing is we're also trying to see what other credible and authentic sources or databases can we build on top of it. So, especially since my work has largely been in the information access space, government information access, so to speak. So we are also trying to expand this to see if more and more government information can be made accessible to people because of the capabilities of AI today. So your multilingual, multimodal abilities automatically help mitigate that problem of language barriers. But our further work is about expanding this into a lot more databases, where the larger goal is to extend access for credible and authentic information.
Right. Thank you, Rakesh. So when we talk about elections, right, the spread of misinformation and fake news and false news has been the case. And with now advent of AI, that's also advanced, right? So there is AI is being used to now create deepfakes. What do we understand by deepfakes? Basically, that if say Rakesh is not here, Jay sir is not here, we can actually create a video with Jay sir sitting here, and we can show panel discussion with Jay sir talking about Telangana's initiatives on AI. So there's a lot going on. And circulating deepfakes among rural communities, among Indian citizens during elections has been on a huge rise. And there's also proliferation of hate speech. Hate speech again, with advanced use of AI, that's also taken newer forms. So here, how, again, the question for all of us is, of course, AI is throwing harms at us. So then how do we use AI to address this, to tackle this? So here, I think Onjia's work is very important because Onjia has developed a hate speech detection algorithm for social media platforms that can scan, detect, and classify hate speech from text, images, videos, and then detect offensive content not only in English, because we are in India, they are focused on English. that's a predominant medium of communication in digital spaces. And also, this algorithm has the potential to be applied to regional and vernacular languages too. So, we would request Andrea to share more about the work. Yeah.
Hi everyone, very nice to see you all. I am Andrea. I am an AI engineer and I'm also an artist. And I share a lot of, I belong to an intersections of marginalizations. I am neurodivergent, queer, indigenous. And because of all that, when I did art, a lot of my art has been very political. I have been speaking and writing about issues of the marginalized communities, issues that I myself face. So when I was doing that, parallelly, while I was also an engineer, I was an AI engineer at a startup. I realized that I was myself getting a lot of that hate speech, and I thought I'll try to do something about it, and that's how Shore I kind of started off. And there's like a lot of if you really think about it, like AI, we keep talking about how AI has so much potential to do so many things. But why is it that we are busy solving non-problems of the already privileged people with AI? While we are trying to solve a delivery in 8 minutes instead of an hour, like why do we need those solutions with the kind of power that AI holds? That is the kind of thought I had when I was myself facing a problem that could be possibly solved with AI, but no one was doing it. And I think the reason why no one wants to do AI for good is because AI is a technological field, and we can see how technology and social good work in silos. They are completely like they are treated as two different things where AI products have to be commodified and social good cannot be commodified, right? Like there's like a huge problem that I have seen throughout the creation of Shore AI, because I started off as someone who was just trying to solve this. So I was myself facing a lot of hate speech, and I put out calls on my social media asking people to share links if they were facing hate speech. And I ended up getting a lot of people sending me hate speech links to their own accounts and to things that they were seeing. And I realized that it is too much for a manual labor, so I ended up creating a scraper and scraping all of those comments. And there were like about 40,000 comments which had to be manually tagged to create an AI model, which is also when I realized that the language that is being used is a complex format of a mix of languages we speak in India. There's Hindi, there's English, and the biggest problem that all of South Asia has is that we usually have to use an English keyboard while having to speak in different languages. So what happens, what arises is called code mixed language, where there are no fixed spellings anymore, there's no grammar anymore, but it depends on how people phonetically translate their language into the English keyboard. So you know how Instagram currently has this content moderation system where you can go to your settings and put enter the list of words that you don't want to see on your comments or on your feed. But that does not work at all. That solution does not work in the Indian context because we don't have fixed spellings. Because we are using an English keyboard to type in Hindi or Tamil or etc. So many other languages. So the the problem you see here is that when a solution, a technology that is built in the global north that does not understand our context is applied on us, there's going to be a lot of problems, right? There's going to be problems because the solution built for content moderation or the whole platform is not meant for us. It does not understand our context and our language. What is hate speech for us? what is sometimes there's not even slurs. There's context to why something is hate speech. For example, calling someone rice bag is a slur against the Dalit people, the marginalized caste people, and that has whole historical context because it said that Dalit people converted to Christianity because they were given rice bags. Now the word rice or the word bag are not slurs, but by historical context, when we know the context, it is hate speech. So things like that, a centralized one-size-fits-all system cannot understand. So, which is where Shore AI comes in and which understands the context because the data we have collected is from marginalized people. It is tagged by marginalized people who understand what is hate speech for us, what is our language and context. So I think what I'm trying to say is that when we build solutions, I think our key focus should be that inclusion should not come as an afterthought, but it should be in the design itself. The things have to be created with the people itself for who you are creating the product. If you are creating a product that goes to the marginalized communities, you have to have them in the room on the table while you design the product. And that is the only way you are going to not have these problems or be able to solve these problems. And another thing I think is that the people who have the privilege and the power to build certain things should pass the mic. I have been on both sides of this, where I've been called for consultations on okay, how do we make our technology inclusive? And that is not going to work because in the design itself was not meant for us, right? It has to be from the start itself, and for that, I think the communities, the grassroots communities who are trying to build solutions have to be funded directly, and it should not be an afterthought later for an existing product to go and try to solve certain things. Yeah, that is all.
Thank you, Andrea. I think you've made a very important point that rather than speaking about it as an afterthought, it's important to talk about design. So when we talk about design, what are we talking about? Okay, so one aspect of it is policy making in the country, right? And then who are making policies and who are they being made for? So then, so I think the flow of the conversation is making the moderator's life easier, because here again I bring you to Atharva, who is from Civis. So Civis does this work exactly online. So what Andrea is suggesting that for policy making, people, communities, affected communities should be part of the consultation. It's not just being part of the consultation, should be decisive force in the process of consultation. And the consultation is always public consultation, so that should be the focus, and which definitely always lacks, and which is where we see that when policies come in, when products are being designed, like you see in all our sectors, we see that gap again and again. So that urge that came from Andrea is shared by this panel too, that we need to again think at the level of design and not as an afterthought. So here, Atharva, can you please speak more about your intervention? Because we see that you have created an AI-powered platform which enhances the public engagement, feedback, and a constructive dialogue mechanism on governance.
Yeah. Again, pleasure to be sitting here with every one of us. And I like to, if I have the liberty, I like to have this conversation in a more interactive way. So before the advent of AI, I think Civis was just a platform for public consultations, and post that we have made a lot of change into the product and made sure it is accessible, made sure that we have more intelligent systems to take decision and take it to the government, right? So even Ramana mentioned that the B2G component in the AI aspect is something that many states have started recognizing, right? So I would just like to explain what Civis does, and then I'll try to bring the AI component in, and then probably highlight the framework that I probably use on understanding how to build and how to evaluate AI solutions. So as Indian citizens, I think if the floor is again open for everyone to answer, I think we have a very important right, and that is the right to, I think, Iman. Like information is great, but I think right to vote supersedes a lot of aspects of different kind of rights that we have. And how frequently do we vote? Anyone here wants to answer that? Maybe on the central government, how frequently do we vote?
5 years.
5 years. Anyone who's doing it more regularly? Anyone does get that chance to do that regularly? So this is the missing point, right? So when I say this, the reason to vote is basically we choose a parliamentarian who represents our voices. Right? And if you look at the ratio of number of people versus the parliamentarian sitting in the parliament, it's almost 23 million to 1. So one person is representing almost 23 million people. Which seems a bit difficult to understand, and maybe for us to understand if policies are being made for you or not, right? So, the Ministry of Law and Justice in 2014 introduced a concept called a pre-legislative consultation policy, which stands that before a bill or a policy is presented to a parliament, it undergoes a 30-day discussion period for public. It is open for public to comment on, and based on those comments, the policy is refined and then presented to the parliamentarians. Right? To again, it can be passed as a bill, a policy, or an amendment to a current kind of rule as well. So Civis is just that. We are an aggregator of all these consultations throughout municipal corporations, state governments, central governments, different ministries. We collate all these consultations, put it on our platform. We make sure that right stakeholders are consulted on such kind of issues, and basically take this every response to the government and say that okay, the policy needs these many changes. These are the things that people and different stakeholders are talking about. And so this was happening before AI as well. The advent of AI coming into picture, and post that what we are trying to do is that we are trying to build bots for people to be able to answer better. What happens is a lot of times whenever government asks their input, a lot of input is in form of grievances. People are not happy with certain things, but there is no actual quality or a recommendation that is coming into picture for the government, so that the stakes are very high when it comes to understanding or getting public inputs, right? For example, on farmers bill, we've seen that the government didn't consult farmers at that point of time, and that resulted in a lot more kind of a riot across the country, right? So these are few aspects that we are trying to solve for. So we are making sure that we have been building AI chatbots that allow people to ask questions about the policies, so that they understand the policy better, and hence they can respond to the policy better. On the government side, we are also working on understanding how government is understanding the feedback, right? What happens is, for example, for the UCC consultation, there were 40 lakh people that had written letters to different agencies in the government or departments in the government who sent feedback about the uniform civil code, right? And for government, of course, reading those letters and making sense of it is a bit tedious kind of a thing, and probably you're asking a lot of from government at that point of time, right? So we've built solutions that allow us to understand, do the response analysis of different types of feedback. So at the end, this is a deliberation platform that we have built, wherein you can come in and deliberate about issues. This AI platform allows you to understand, send out recommendations in better manner, and this results in a acceptance rates of change in policy of almost 40 to 70% through the platform, or through the platform that we are sending out to. So, for example, if there is a policy and there is 100 responses taken for that policy from our platform, we have seen that almost 30 to 70% of our feedback is then reflected into the new policy. So there is a new whenever the new policy comes out, we have seen a lot of public responses taken into consideration, and that results in better policy, more inclusive policy, and stuff like that. So this is essentially what we do. And when it comes to AI for social good, or the whole gambit of AI for something, I disagree with the concept of using AI to build something new at this point of time. There are already practices such as misinformation and stuff like that were already being tackled by human interventions, but AI is a platform from a computational side that we can leverage and understand how to build for. And for this, I have a very simple framework on understanding if I want to build an AI solution, or if I want to evaluate an AI solution. In the world of acronyms, I use my acronym called ADORE. So we need to adore AI. So A stands for algorithms. I think there are a lot of engineers in this room, so we all know what algorithm is. D stands for data. Again, it is very important to understand where the data is coming from, where my AI model is getting trained on, right? Because there are a lot of firms who are creating synthetic data that also results sometimes in misinformation. Or there are firms in the US that are again claiming themselves to be an expert of the global south and understanding how data can be aggregated in that sense. O stands for operations. So when I say operations, I mean scalability. So you build a model, you build an MVP using an AI kind of an tool or a AI API, but is it really scalable as a solution? It comes on certain financial costs. So what happens is you get an AWS credit of maybe $100,000, and post that your solution is not going to work because you have exhausted those credits. So operations play an important part. R stands for in reality check. When I say reality check, means that is the solution creating a real impact. So when I say reality check, we need to understand how users are interacting with your solution, how you're trying to add value to the community. And E stands for ethics. Again, I think Sir rightly mentioned a healthcare problem at this point of time, and we see a lot. Sorry, and we see a lot of greater companies, acquiring multiple startups. Acquiring a lot of startups and stuff like that, right? So just to give you an example why ethics is important, I always quote this, that considering that let's say if Meta acquires an health tech company that provides healthcare services, right? The whole data privacy thing goes for a loss, right? You'll be getting ads to maybe screen yourself or maybe medicines and stuff like that. So ethics also plays a very important role in the AI solution that you're trying to build. So this Adobe framework is something that I like to use when I'm trying to build an kind of solution. And coming from a technical background, of course, I had limited experience on understanding how social, the social thinking and social aspects of the whole community works. But I'm trying to learn at every point in time. But again, thanks for the opportunity here.
Thank you, Atharva. So we are just 3 minutes away from lunch. So I think we should hurry up now and close the session. But before that, I will request all the panelists to take less than a minute, right, to answer one question. So you all are the leaders in AI for social good in this, force towards social good, right? So what is one key lesson or insight you believe will be essential for future development of AI that truly responsibly serves society, ensuring it remains inclusive, ethical, and impactful, and also at the level of the design, starting from the point of design?
I think the biggest thing is it aiding decision making or is it making decisions for you? I think that is going to be the key. For me, it should be the first one.
I think I didn't catch the question.
Basically, what do you think is essential for future development of AI that truly serves society?
Okay, so one of the essential things is, of course, inclusiveness is important, but as we see, we all are going to go through a very transformational phase, right? What we are potentially doing right now, AI can potentially do, especially with the advancement of autonomous agents. I think that's where strong ethics, as well as also ensuring there are no biases in the overall system is way more important. If it is built with a bias, then we would end up living in that biased world. So that's where I think it's important to have more diversity in the entire data sets.
I think the network dropped or something, and I guess I can hear you.
I think the collective intelligence aspect of building AI solutions is something that is important. If solutions are built by the people who are going to use it, if you can make AI accessible that enough that maybe you don't need a development team to build an AI solution for yourself, will be achieving a smaller scale kind of an impact, but that impact will be achieved for masses, so that will transcend into a larger impact eventually. So that's my understanding.
Over to you, Daveen.
Okay, so it's a very complicated question to be answered in one word. I don't think I will do justice on blaming AI, but I feel, as a humans, we just have to be reasonable and nice to other humans. I think that should form the fundamental base of existence. I think we as a country are one of the most special countries in the world with 28, 30 subcultures, so many diverse religions, food, everything. I think that is the superpower we have, that we have so much of diverse collective human intelligence with us, that the systems that we build in India will be applicable across the world. So I think focusing on the good part and not caring on the bad parts like hating other people or their choices, I think we should acknowledge our differences as humans and embrace the diversity, then rather than creating a divide, is what I feel will create India as one of the leading change makers in AI globally.
Over to you, Andrea.
I think when we talk about building any kind of product, scalability becomes a very important question. Like every person wants to ask me, like, oh, how do you scale this? But I think when we want to build something ethical with technology, we should always remember that we shouldn't scalability should not come at the cost of nuance. We cannot like, just like hate speech and content moderation I was just talking about, we cannot make a one size fits all solution. So there has to be nuance, and that is not possible in a centralized system. The centralized systems which hold power have to diversify and give away the power to decentralize taking the decisions, making the different solutions. If it is, say, hate speech, there has to be multiple content moderation, decentralized solutions for different contexts and languages. So I think, yeah, what I'm trying to say is the scalability shouldn't be the focus of building a ethical AI solution.
Thank you. On this note, if Vikas allows us, can we have a few more minutes?
Yes.
Okay, we'll just open the floor for discussion. Before that, I'm wrapping the session. So I think the key takeaways are AI is a tool like any other digital technology. How do we use it? How do we build a process that will make it inclusive right from the design? Is one learning, and I think second learning is that as researchers, as technologists, as public sector, as private sector, none of us should work in silos. We have to come together, and the team should have all of these elements to build that very strong process. Very good important learning is that we have to build contextual solutions. We cannot have, of course, we do have some universal rules, guidelines generally to follow, but we should have contextual solutions, and for that we need studies to enable that. We need a thorough research to enable that. So again, like I think as researchers, it's our responsibility to pursue more research and bring more insights to the field. Then I think another very important point that Andrea is bringing up is we have to enable grassroots solutions that are coming from grassroots, from the communities who don't have the resources. Very simple, don't have the resources. So the people with resources have to enable those without resources. And to sum up, what we mean by AI for social good is we want to build technology, we want to build AI which reduces digital divide, which reduces social inequalities, which decentralizes systems thinking, builds contextual solutions, which decolonizes the internet. In Indian context, we factor in also the social inequalities that are underplaying the digital divide. So we address them as much as address them as very important factors in understanding technology, in building technology. So on that note, I'll open the floor. Thank you all the panelists for joining online and offline. And here we can take this conversation outside as well because we are now heading for lunch. But maybe 2-3 questions in a formal setting, and then we can take. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. This is was a fantastic discussion. Really great to know about all of the work that you are all doing. I think this super quick. Broadly, since you are sort of pioneering work in new areas, right? What is your approach to identifying areas where technology right now is just going to do much more harm than good? And I want to refer to what Rakesh pointed out, that at this point AI is probabilistic. It's not deterministic, right? Like people's rights, we need to have we need to have explanations for how that decision is made. But there are certain areas that we shouldn't even get to that point, right? So what is the, is there scope for, and how are you incorporating a more rights-based, public good-based approach rather than building something and then saying what are the risks of this? Because to be honest, once you build something and you start talking about it, it could be applied in multiple ways, including others. And so I will just add one quick example, right? The UK health system, the national health system, tried to incorporate an algorithm to decide who was going to get liver transplant donations. And it went disastrously. There are a number of studies and good writing on this, but essentially the algorithm was supposed to see who's going to benefit the most from a liver transplant. And it ended up being completely biased against younger patients because it estimated that younger patients would live anyway. So older patients should be given livers, and it was completely flawed methodology, and that's been pointed out exactly. So how are we stopping ourselves? How are you stopping yourselves from getting to that point?
Probably systems that are being built right now, especially when I talk about autonomous agents, there is always a human intervention, and this is something that we strongly recommend to enterprises, governments, etc., where we say, hey, have a human in the loop. If you are making decisions on the healthcare, then just don't make a decision directly. Have it go through a subject matter expert. If it is a doctor, radiologist, or whatever it is, we are going to enhance their decision making. We are not going to replace that. That's where I think it's important to have strong human AI collaboration. And I think it should continue for a very long time, unless AI systems become so powerful. And that's what I think Rakesh was mentioning. Is it going to make a decision? Or or maybe the other way of putting it is it going to enable us to make better decisions, right? So we put it in that perspective of it's going to empower individuals, organizations to enable them to make mature and reliable decisions with a human AI collaboration.
I just add on to what I said earlier that if AI is going to be the final arbiter, it should be no. I don't think we are at a stage, irrespective of the domain we are in, barring a very few narrow sectors where we can delegate that power to technology. So I think that becomes a very important component even before we get the harms right. So what are we using it for, and how is it going to manifest? Like you were rightly saying, are we only using it to help us save time, be more productive, make better decisions, or is it trying to take away half of our work and say make decisions for us? I think primary consideration will be that, and secondly, the risk factor in the area that we're working in. So sometimes it could be the risk may not be immediately visible. So so for example, narrative buildings do not look like this. They're very slow process. So things like that are difficult. I don't deny that on day one things would be clear. But at every stage, we need to be very, very clear about having such evaluation strategies. Whether what we are building, especially with things changing so rapidly, becomes all more important because the model that you build for something that may not be applicable 1 month later when change. So it's a constantly evolving process. Difficult. I don't say I have answers to it. I think it is something that you have to be mindful of.
Just about it, I feel like, especially for a large country like India, is such a population. The stratification of data, population-wise, I'm again talking about in terms of the medical, based on clinical data of the people, based upon interactions with the medicines and all. You have capital data and stratified. Even the earlier point I was suggesting was also on how do you reduce the premium cost of insurance. How do you ensure preventive care rather than? So all this can happen only if you have captured the data of the population. Thank you.
I think what you exactly mentioned, this was just discussed in the earlier session where we were speaking about how ICT accessibility enhancement, like enhanced access to digital tools, will enable persons with disabilities, right? So, but there's a huge barrier right now, which is with lack of census data. So, the last 2011 census data says 2.2% of India's population are persons with disabilities, and there's no census after that. So we don't have an estimate of the population. We don't have an estimate of persons with diverse disabilities. So if we have to build digital technologies, assistive technologies, accessibility features, we need data. And then again, the second question is the role of agency. Like how do persons with disabilities have control over decision making about the data? Now the latest DPDPA Act, which is Digital Personal Data Protection Act, yeah. So in that again, the policy is saying that a legal guardian will completely take over and take the decision on behalf of PWD communities. So again, there's a huge gap. So there are lots of questions, and this is also a very crucial question. So AI or any digital technology to step up and actually be there for people, we need so many gaps to be filled.